sobrang di ko pa mapaniwala. Maraming salamat sa suporta at sana patuloy yung support.
She could have asked me, like, just, bro. I'm sorry. Apparently, a lot of come-ons that she was angry about, but whatever.
Tears in Melbourne. The miracle hug that stopped the Australian Open, Eala's historic homecoming, and Osaka's disrespectful outfit scandal. Welcome back to Champions Tennisitics, where we don't just watch the match, we feel the heartbeat of the game. Grab your coffee, or maybe something stronger, because today we are unpacking a story that has left the entire tennis world reaching for the tissue box. We are talking about a moment so raw, so unscripted, it made the scoreboards irrelevant. We've got the full breakdown of the miracle on Court 6, involving a fan who sold everything for one last glimpse of hope. Plus, we're heading to the Philippines for a historic homecoming that has Coco Gauff and the WTA stars buzzing. And, oh boy, do we have drama? You better believe it. Naomi Osaka has walked out in an outfit that critics are calling disrespectful and tacky, and the clapback on social media is absolutely savage. There is so much to cover. The emotions are high, the fashion is questionable, and the history books are being rewritten. Let's dive in. Folks, we have to start in Melbourne. The Australian Open 2026. Every year, this Grand Slam gives us drama. It gives us 5-set thrillers that finish at 4 in the morning. It gives us sunburns and upsets. But this year, it gave us something that transcends sport entirely. Let me take you to Court 6. It's one of the outer courts, usually reserved for the grinders, the up-and-comers, the players fighting for ranking points in the sweltering Aussie heat. But on this particular Tuesday, the energy was different. The air was thick, not just with humidity, but with a strange, vibrating anticipation that you could almost reach out and touch. In the middle of that chaotic sea of fans, squeezed into the accessible seating area, was a man named Marco. Now, Marco isn't a celebrity. He isn't a sponsor with corporate box seats and champagne on ice. He's a guy from Manila, Philippines. A few months ago, Marco was sitting in a doctor's office in Quezon City, listening to the kind of news that stops your world on its axis. Metastatic cancer. The fight of his life. The kind of diagnosis that makes everything else seem trivial and small. But Marco had a dream. In the darkness of his diagnosis, he found a light. That light was Alexandra Eala. For years, he had watched her rise from a junior champion at the Rafa Nadal Academy to a bona fide WTA title holder in Guadalajara. She was the pride of his nation, the Bicolana lefty, who proved that Philippine tennis belonged on the world stage. Marco made a decision that sounds reckless to some, but perfectly logical to anyone who has ever loved the game with every fiber of their being. He sold his old motorbike, his primary mode of transport in the chaotic streets of Manila. He emptied his savings jar. Every single peso. He bought a plane ticket to Melbourne and a single ground pass for the Australian Open. He didn't care about the corporate boxes or the celebrity sightings. He just wanted to be there. He wanted to see her play, just once. One moment of pure joy before the darkness closed in. Fast forward to the match. Alex Eala is battling under the Melbourne sun. She's 20 years old now, carrying the weight of a nation that treats beauty pageants, boxing, and now tennis like religion. The match ends. The crowd erupts in that familiar roar of appreciation for good tennis well played. But amidst the noise, something mystical happens. Alex looks up. She scans the crowd with those focused eyes that have stared down match points and championship pressure. And her eyes lock onto Marco. Now, she doesn't know him. She doesn't know he sold his bike. She doesn't know about the chemotherapy sessions or the silent battles he fights every morning just to get out of bed. But in that split second, the noise of Melbourne Park seemed to fade away into nothing. Perhaps she saw the Philippine flag draped over his wheelchair, that brilliant sun and stars against red, white, and blue. Perhaps she saw a look in his eyes, that potent cocktail of despair and blinding hope that only sport can unlock in the human heart. What happened next wasn't in the script. It wasn't in the media guide or the official tournament protocols. Alexandra Eala, exhausted, sweating, adrenaline still pumping through her veins, didn't walk to her bench. She didn't go to sign the camera lens for the broadcast audience. She placed her hand over her heart, a gesture of pure, instinctive connection, and she ran. She ran past the security guards, who looked startled for a second, their hands reaching for their radios, and she headed straight for the barrier where Marco was sitting. The stadium went silent first, then erupted in a different kind of roar, a roar of realization that something extraordinary was happening. She reached over the railing. She didn't just shake his hand in that perfunctory athlete-to-fan way we've all seen 1,000 times. She held it. Witnesses say Marco was weeping, his shoulders shaking with emotion, whispering something to her in Tagalog that only the two of them could understand. Alex, the 20-year-old superstar with endorsement deals and magazine covers, looked like she was holding back tears of her own. In a world of multi-million-dollar endorsements and curated Instagram feeds where everything is filtered and managed, this was real. It was raw. It was a reminder that for some people, tennis isn't just a game played for trophies and prize money. It's a reason to hold on for one more day. It's hope made tangible. That image, Alex's hand on her heart, Marco's tear-streaked face, is already the defining photo of the 2026 Australian Open. Forget the winners lifting trophies. Forget the celebrations with champagne spraying everywhere. This is the image that will endure. It's a testament to the resilience of the Filipino spirit, a Bayanihan spirit of communal unity and compassion that traveled 4,000 miles to a tennis court in Melbourne and created magic. The story has gone viral, not just in tennis circles, but everywhere. Major news outlets have picked it up. The hashtag Miracle on Court 6 is trending globally. People who have never watched a tennis match in their lives are sharing the video of that embrace. Because ultimately, this transcends tennis. It's about human connection. It's about what we're willing to sacrifice for the things and people we love. It's about an athlete who, in a moment of triumph, chose compassion over celebration. And here's the beautiful epilogue to this story. The tournament organizers, moved by what they witnessed, upgraded Marco's credentials for the rest of the Australian Open. He's no longer in the outer courts with a ground pass. He's been given access to some of the showcase matches, including a guaranteed seat for any match Alexandra Eala plays. The tennis community has rallied around him. A GoFundMe page has been set up to help with his medical expenses, and it's already exceeded its target by several hundred%. Tennis fans from around the world, from Serbia to Spain to Sweden, have contributed. Because that's what this sport does at its best. It brings people together. Marco gave an interview to a Filipino sports network, and his words were simple but profound. He said, "I came to Melbourne to see Alex play. I thought it would just be a memory I could hold on to in the difficult days ahead. But what she gave me was so much more. She reminded me that I'm not alone. She reminded me that there is still beauty in this world worth fighting for." If that doesn't give you goosebumps, you might want to check your pulse. And speaking of the Filipino spirit, the narrative doesn't end in Melbourne. In fact, that emotional moment on Court 6 is just the prelude to what is shaping up to be the biggest homecoming in Asian tennis history. Ladies and gentlemen, mark your calendars and clear your schedules, because the WTA is finally returning to Manila. We are talking about the inaugural Philippine Women's Open, a WTA 125 event that is set to electrify the capital and put Philippine tennis on the global map in a way it has never been before. This is huge. For decades, tennis in the Philippines has been a grassroots passion, fueled by humid afternoons at local clubs, makeshift courts in provincial towns, and the legendary exploits of players like Felicissimo Ampon in the black and white era of the sport. Ampon, standing just 4 feet 11 inches tall, took on giants at Wimbledon and the U.S. Championships and proved that heart and skill could overcome any physical disadvantage. But a sanctioned WTA event on Philippine soil? That is a game-changer. That is history being written in real time. The venue is the historic Rizal Memorial Tennis Center, named after the national hero Jose Rizal. If those walls could talk, they'd tell you stories of the 1934 Far Eastern Championship Games, when Manila was a buzzing hub of regional sport. They'd tell you about the 2016 Manila Challenger, where a young Mikhail Yuzhny, yes, the Colonel himself, who was once ranked number 8 in the world, lifted the trophy. That tournament back in 2016 was a tease, a glimpse of what professional tennis looked like when it came to town. It featured grinders like Luca Vanni and Lucas Lacko, and it gave local heroes like Francis Casey Alcantara and Jason Petromban a taste of the big leagues, a chance to compete on a professional stage in front of their home crowd. But 2026 is different. This isn't a one-off challenger event squeezed into the calendar. This is a WTA 125, a platform where rising stars earn crucial ranking points and established players rebuild momentum. The renovation crews have been working around the clock at Rizal Memorial. The courts are pristine. The facilities have been upgraded to international standards. The humidity is, well, still 100%, but that's the home court advantage that Eala and any other Filipino player will gladly embrace. And leading the charge is the wild card entrant, the woman of the hour, Alexandra Eala herself. She's coming into this tournament not as a hopeful junior with dreams in her eyes, but as a champion with silverware to her name. Let's not forget, she lifted her maiden WTA 125 title at the Guadalajara Open in 2025. That win in Mexico was the breakthrough we were all waiting for. The moment her heavy lefty forehand and that Rafael Nadal Academy grit finally translated into silverware on the professional tour. She dismantled opponents with the kind of controlled aggression that made her coaches beam with pride. The hype for Manila is off the charts. The tickets for the event sold out within 48 hours of going on sale. Scalpers are reportedly asking triple the face value, and people are still buying. This is Super Bowl-level enthusiasm for a WTA 125 tournament, which tells you everything you need to know about the passion for tennis in the Philippines right now. Alex took to Instagram this week, posting a series of photos from her travels, her training sessions, and candid moments with friends. The caption was cryptic but charming. Here, there, everywhere. It's a nod to her jet-setting life, the constant movement from tournament to tournament, but also a signal that her heart is everywhere her fans are. Whether she's in Melbourne, Madrid, or Manila, she carries that connection with her. And the comments section? It's a who's who of the WTA next generation and beyond. Iva Jovic, the American sensation who partnered with Eala at the ASB Classic in Auckland, slid into the comments with a casual but loaded message, "Doubles with you." Fans are already speculating wildly. Will we see a Jovala reunion in Manila? The chemistry between these two on court is electric. They communicate without words, anticipating each other's movements like they've been playing together for years, not months. If they team up for the doubles draw in Manila, the local crowd will go absolutely berserk. Then you have the heavy hitter, Coco Gauff. Coco and Alex played doubles together at the 2025 Italian Open, a partnership that had tennis Twitter in a complete meltdown. Watching a Grand Slam champion and future Hall of Famer team up with the pride of the Philippines was surreal. Coco dropped a simple but effective QDE on the post. It shows the level of respect Eala commands in the locker room. She's not just a participant or a wild card filling out the draw. She's friends with the very best players in the world. She's earned their respect through her game, her work ethic, and her humility. But not every comment was just sweet nothings and emojis. Victoria Mboko, the Canadian rising star with a game built on power and precision, left a comment that was equal parts compliment and competitive banter. "You are a breath of fresh air." Now, don't let the kindness fool you. There is history here, and it's spicy. Mboko and Eala have a brewing rivalry that is appointment viewing whenever they meet. Remember the Hong Kong Open at the end of the 2025 season? It was Mboko who knocked Eala out in a match that was an absolute slugfest, a war of attrition that lasted over 2.5 hours. Mboko's power game, those flat, heavy ground strokes that come off her racket like missiles, clashed with Eala's tactical lefty spin, the looping forehands and sliced backhands that dragged Mboko out of her comfort zone. It was a clash of styles that left both players gasping for air, doubled over between points. Mboko sending love on Instagram is nice and all, sportsmanship is important, but if they meet in the draw at Rizal Memorial, all bets are off. The pleasantries end at the net handshake before the match. The field for this Manila event is legitimately stacked. We've got Donna Vekic, the Croatian powerhouse with one of the biggest serves in the women's game, a weapon that can end points in the blink of an eye. We've got Lulu Sun, who had that miraculous run at Wimbledon a couple of years back, her unexpected journey to the fourth round capturing hearts worldwide. And we've got the crafty veteran Tatiana Maria, whose slice-and-dice game is an absolute nightmare in humid conditions. Maria's ability to change pace, to float the ball and then rip it, to make opponents generate their own power, is tailor-made for the sticky, heavy air of Manila. Playing against her in those conditions is like trying to hit a ball wrapped in wet towels. Eala will find out her first-round opponent once the qualifying stage wraps up. But let's be real, the draw doesn't matter to the fans. The Rizal Memorial is going to be packed to the rafters. It's going to be loud, louder than some Grand Slam matches. It's going to be chaotic, with fans arriving hours early to claim their seats, waving flags, and chanting Eala's name. It's going to be a fiesta, a full-blown celebration of tennis, Filipino pride, and the realization of a dream that many thought would take decades to achieve. The government has gotten involved too. The Department of Tourism is promoting the event heavily, seeing it as an opportunity to showcase Manila to an international audience. The economic impact is projected to be significant, with thousands of international visitors expected to attend. Hotels are fully booked. Restaurants near the venue are preparing special menus. This is bigger than tennis. This is a moment of national pride. And for Alexandra Eala, the pressure is immense, but also familiar. She's been carrying the hopes of a nation since she was a teenager. She's used to the spotlight. But playing at home, with every shot dissected by millions watching on television and thousands screaming in the stands, that's a different level. The question everyone is asking is simple. Can she handle it? Can she channel the emotion, the expectation, the love, and turn it into performance? If Melbourne taught us anything, it's that Alex Eala thrives on emotion. She doesn't shy away from it. She embraces it. That moment with Marco wasn't a distraction from her tennis. It was an extension of who she is as a person and a competitor. She plays with her heart on her sleeve, and that authenticity resonates with people. So yes, the pressure will be there in Manila, but so will the support, the energy, and the belief that she can do something special. Now, from the heartwarming and the historic, we have to pivot to the downright bizarre and controversial. We need to talk about Naomi Osaka, and buckle up, because this is where things get messy. Naomi has always been a fashion icon. She's a Met Gala co-chair. She's launched her own clothing lines. She's been on the cover of Vogue multiple times. She's a trendsetter, someone who uses fashion as a form of self-expression and empowerment. But her appearance at the 2026 Australian Open has ignited a firestorm that is overshadowing her actual tennis, and the debate has split the tennis world right down the middle. Let's set the scene. Rod Laver Arena. First round. The crowd is waiting for the four-time Grand Slam champion, a player who has won on this very court before, who has hoisted the Daphne Accursed Memorial Cup and cemented her legacy. And then, she walks out. Or rather, she floats out, like she's arriving at the Academy Awards instead of a tennis match. Naomi Osaka emerged wearing an outfit that can only be described as avant-garde jellyfish meets Victorian morning attire. We are talking about layers upon layers of white netting, flowing and billowing with every step. We are talking about a hat so large it practically had its own postcode, completely obscuring her face, making it impossible to see her expression or even confirm it was actually her under there. And the kicker? She didn't walk out with her racket bag over her shoulder like a normal athlete ready to compete. Oh no, she had an entourage, an actual entourage of people, carry her gear while she sashayed onto the court like she was closing the runway at Paris Fashion Week. Cameras flashing, the crowd murmuring in confusion and disbelief. The internet broke. Instantly. Social media exploded with reactions ranging from applause for her boldness to outright mockery. Memes were created within minutes. Comparisons to everything from wedding cakes to haunted bridal gowns flooded Twitter and Instagram. Jamie Murray, the doubles legend and generally a laid-back, affable guy who doesn't usually wade into controversy, couldn't contain himself on BBC 5 Live Sport. He was watching the entrance live and just started laughing, a genuine, bewildered laugh. He said, and I quote, "It was like Mary Poppins on. I don't know what she was on, but she's on something." For me, I was just like, what? Like, what are you doing? You can hear the confusion in his voice, the disbelief that this was actually happening at a Grand Slam tournament. This is a tennis match, Naomi, not a Lady Gaga music video or a performance art piece at a contemporary art museum. But the criticism got sharper and more pointed from there. Liza West, a prominent tennis and fashion content creator with a significant following, went for the jugular. She didn't mince words or try to find a diplomatic middle ground. She called it straight-up disrespect to the sport and everyone involved. She argued that requesting a primetime night match, the kind of slot reserved for the biggest stars and most anticipated matchups, just to show off a costume that has nothing to do with athletics, is a slap in the face to the sport, to the other players, and to the fans who came to watch tennis. West said, and this quote has been circulated widely, "I felt like there was an element of disrespect to the sport of tennis. It just kind of takes away from the show that is the tennis and what we're all here to enjoy." She didn't stop there. She went further, calling the look cheap and tacky, claiming it didn't even belong on a red carpet, let alone a hard court where people have come to watch athletic competition. According to West, the whole thing reeked of attention-seeking behavior, a desperate grab for headlines and social media engagement rather than a genuine expression of individuality. Ouch. That is scorching, the kind of criticism that leaves burn marks. And the drama didn't stay confined to the fashion columns and social media debates. It spilled onto the court, affecting the actual tennis. In the second round, Osaka faced Sorana Cîrstea, a Romanian veteran who has been on tour for years. Now, Cîrstea is known for being a no-nonsense, old-school competitor who respects the traditions of the game. She does not have time for antics or theatrics. She shows up, plays hard, and goes home. The tension during that match was palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. There were icy glares across the net during changeovers. There were mumbled words at the net after points, the kind of exchanges that the broadcast microphones couldn't quite pick up, but you could see in the body language. Cîrstea was clearly annoyed, not just by the tennis, which was competitive, but by the circus surrounding her opponent, the feeling that she was a supporting character in someone else's publicity stunt. So, how did Naomi handle the backlash? Did she issue a statement through her PR team apologizing for the distraction? Did she tone it down for her next match, maybe wear something a bit more conventional to smooth things over? Absolutely not. This is Naomi Osaka we're talking about, a player who has never been afraid to stand up for what she believes in, even when it costs her sponsorships or favorable media coverage. She took to Threads, the app we all forgot about until she revived it with this spicy take, and doubled down hard. She wrote, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, but the sentiment is exact. There's a demographic that's been talking about traditional tennis outfits and calling me classless for what I wear. To be honest, I see it for what it is. I don't do this for them, though. They will never get it, and I don't want them to. I do this for the people that are like me. Boom. Mic drop. She is framing this as a culture war, a generational and ideological divide. Old guard versus new general tradition versus expression. Conformity versus individuality. She's saying, in no uncertain terms, if you think it's tacky, if you think it's disrespectful, you're just not my audience, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm not here to please everyone. It's a bold stance, and depending on where you stand on the issue, it's either incredibly brave or incredibly tone-deaf. Her supporters argue that tennis has always been about pushing boundaries, from Billie Jean King fighting for equal prize money to Serena Williams wearing catsuits. They argue that Osaka is simply the latest in a long line of players who refuse to be put in a box, who use the platform of tennis to express themselves in ways that go beyond baseline rallies and trophy presentations.